Okay, in this video, I wanted to just talk about a feature I call Enfeebler and possibly eliminate some of the confusion with it. So I happen just to be CPing here. Figured it's a good chance just to make a video to explain kind of how that works. Okay, so in this particular scenario, I have my Geomancer set up for Enfeebler. That's so that she can pull the imps to the party, and the party is a bunch of randos, basically just savage blading, past evisceration. So I got two fighters, right? I don't know if well, here, I'll move this here to show you kind of just high level what I got going on here. So I got two fighters working in pairs, each doing fragmentation. So my bard Madros is just doing evisceration, and then don't know who's behind there. Turin is doing Savage Blade. And then the other pair is a core doing Savage Blades. I think I'm leveling a thief or dancer or something like that. So that's the DPS. But in this particular situation, I want to have three enemies, two actively being engaged, and one on queue. And to do that, I use Enfeebler. So getting right into it, it is my Geomancer. I go to Enfeebling, and there's an option called Enfeebler. Now, the other four options require a person to assist. Enfeebler is a little bit different because you don't need to be engaged. It's not based off any one character. Its rules apply just like fighting, in the fact that if you have fast follow on, Enfeebler will not start. It won't pull enemies and so forth, right? So when you want to start out, you can have fast follow on and turn it off. The fighting will begin to engage, and Feebling will start to cast, right? So that's kind of the concept here. The same thing, priority versus free. I usually always do free. I don't really have a need to really stick on, like for instance, slow. I try to get as much stuff on quick as I can. So strict is just going to wait until the recast timer and recast it. But that's the only difference is. And so here, this is where kind of the magic happens, and also where the confusion usually, where it usually stems from. So the words I chose is claimed enemies. All right, so that's very important, and let's talk about what a claimed enemy is. Okay, so an enemy that is red has a claim ID. An enemy that is yellow, for instance here, does not have a claim ID. You can have an enemy become red and then turn yellow if you lose claim to it, if you time out. If you have like 10 enemies on you and you are cleaving, you notice you won't have 10 red enemies. So that's really important because this is queuing off of the claimed enemies, which means they have to be red. So because there's 3 of them here, the Geomancer isn't pulling another one. But the moment one dies, I no longer have 3 red enemies, it's going to try to acquire another one and keep it 3 up, right? So that's what this is trying to do. Now, what'll happen sometimes, and really the whole thing stemmed from doing Odyssey and goals. When you have higher vengeance level, there are ads. And this was a way to allow my characters to act on those ads, but not have to direct them to. Now, what I'll do on those situations, and I'll just go ahead and slide that thing up to 6. Now, there's not 6 ads, but that way I don't have to worry about having red claims, because I want them to act on the passive mobs too, the ads. They'll be yellow, right? Because your main The main NM will be red because you're attacking it, but you want to bio, slow, elegy, paralyze the ads. At least that's what I do. Instead of trying to bind and sleep and all that stuff, I found it's just more reliable and effective just to cripple them, right? But I don't want bio on my main boss, so that is the other big difference, right? So with Enfeebler, you can't set globals. You have to go to the enemy list and specify which um, character or enemies, I should say, you have. So in this case, I only have imps, right? So here, what I want my Geomancer to do is just pull with silence and then follow up with a Dia. And I can do that simply in priorities here. I have silence as the top, and then Dia is second. So if I was in goal, I'd have, for instance, Nagai, and then I'd have another entry that would be Nagai's Crack Claw or something, right? And then the Crack Claw, I'd have the bio, the slow gravity, and so forth. And so that's where it would be used in content. If you want to ensure that you are enfeebling an enemy that you're not necessarily going to have claim on, it's not going to be red. That's where you can boost this thing all the way up to 6. Not worry about it. It's just going to try to grab everything and it'll feeble it. If you set it to 1, it's never going to get those ads because you have a claim on the main boss, and that's all it's going to look for. If you set it to 2, in theory, it might alternate between the 2 ads if you're on Vengeance 25. But generally speaking, in that situation, I'm just going to go ahead and boost it up to 6. Okay, so that's kind of how the enfeebling side of the house ends up working. And then I'll just show you real quick the fighting to show I have the 2 pairs. Hurin is aggressive, is going to go grab an enemy, and I put a max enemy of 2. That way it's not going to... again, fighting actually is the same way, right? I think it cues off of the claims, enemy claims. So there's 2 there, and then the other one, which is Turin, is 2. And then the other 2, there's fighting, they assist. So Luthien assists Hurin, and Maedros assists Turin. So that's the gist of it. The important part is the understanding what claimed enemy is. I'm going to swap over to the Geomancer for perspective here. Whoops, that's not the Geo. So we'll watch what she's doing. So right now there's 2, so I'd expect her to grab another one. Right, that's the 3rd one with silence that she pulled with. She's going to follow up with that Dia 2. Okay, another one died, so she's going to cast silence again. She's trying to keep 3 red enemies. She should follow up with a Dia 2 when she's done curing, bioing, whatever, or I'm sorry, Geomancer. Now I'll get a silence because she's trying to keep that 3 up. So the key is if you're not killing fast enough and they become unclaimed after, I don't know the time, but what will happen is they might pull more because they've turned yellow. So they take a while. Like if you toss a bio, but you saw right there, like that one real quickly went to yellow, and fighting grabbed another one inside the area. Imps pump in a lot. So like in this situation, that fighter grabbed this one right here, which is fine. She's trying to catch up, right? Because right now, for a second there, I had maybe 4 if this one's dying at the same time. But this one I pulled on earlier. But she's going to go ahead and make sure these were all enfeebled. So she's basically just when they pop in like that, she plays catch-up game. So now she should grab a new one once another one died. She's curing now. Okay, here's the next one coming in. So she just cast Silent on this one. Well, another one died, so she's got to finish her Dia. She just put her Dia. Now the next Silence is coming out. This is the next enemy she's pulling in. So you can kind of see um, it's always trying to maintain the 3. Okay, so that one just died. It's pretty quick, right? So even before it fully dies, she's trying to pull the next one in. So she's got to pull another one because that one just died. Well, there's an Exxon, so I don't know if she must be pulling the one over there. So that's the goal in Enfeebler, right? To keep the machine humming. Especially if they die at the same time, it's kind of like you got a little bit of lag. You don't want to break your chain and so forth. So it's pretty good. You know, there might be some. You got to balance priorities too. You know, like I've had some times where, it's like stop cure first and start pulling. So in this particular case, I have healing above Enfeebler. Speaking of it, I'll just show you what it looks like here. Go to the Geo priorities. So this is the enfeebling. It'll be its own entry in here, and this one I'm only using high priority, which are these, right? So she's gonna cure and do Luopons before she tries to pull a new enemy. If you put this all the way to the top, she won't be able to cure as much as maybe she needs to, because she's sometimes with Enfeebler, it is a full-time thing. Like you watch the Geo and she's like silence, Dia, just trying to keep the 3 if you're eating fast enough. But again, I'm going to try to make this really quick. The so what of this video is it's the red. That's what that acclaimed enemy is. If you don't have 3 red, it's going to pull. So if this one went passive, she's going to pull another one, right? So that one was trying to keep that 3. So if you just kind of watch it, like I said, it's going to start pull with the silence, follow up with the Dia. And if you are having issues with your DPS not killing fast enough, try to do 2 enfeebles. Like she does 2 of them, and they're not always back to back to back. Depends on how busy they are, and so that can kind of help too. 2 or 3 enfeebles. Whether it's slow or paralyzed, depends how busy your tunes are. That'll help maintain and not grab more and more and more, because if they keep turning yellow, you can have 7, 8 in your camp if you're not killing fast enough. So hopefully that helps a little bit on what Enfeebler is about and how it can help you in master leveling, but also don't forget about the content, because that's was the original intent, was the things like in Odyssey and Goal. You can specify those enemies and the debuffs and then not worry about them. Because some of the stuff, like just simply casting a Bio 2 or Bio 3, is massive in some of those fights. So go ahead and play with it. It's a pretty neat feature. If you got any questions, of course, just post in the Discord.